Hi everyone. Today I wanted to spend a few minutes chatting about Chapter 9, Book 1 of Epictetus Discourses. The chapter is called How One May Draw Conclusions from the Fact That We Are God's Kinsmen. So this discourse actually sort of relates to an earlier one from chapter 3 that kind of touched on this subject. But basically, what this discourse is talking about is how each individual person needs to feel connected to really the universal. For example, in the discourse, Epictetus talks about a person may say, I'm from this city or that place. So like, for example, I may say I live in Maryland. I live in metropolitan Washington, D.C. I'm an American. I have these identities. But, the ultimate identity is I am a citizen of the universe. So I am part of really all there is. And, in Epictetus' view, that makes us kinsmen to God. So I interpret this with my sort of secular worldview that I have, that I'm not necessarily a kinsman with an outside force. I am actually part of, the universal. So rather than for me saying I was created from the whole, I was created from the universe, I view it as I am actually evolving with the universe and I am connected to it still. We're all moving forward. That's me. That's all life on Earth, and that's everything that there is. So that includes non-human animals as well, which Epictetus is in this discourse, and I think ancient Stoics in general considered animals, sort of this othered beings that aren't rational. And I think, now with what we've known over the last couple of millennia since these Stoics were writing and thinking, that, other non-human animals also are rational. They behave rationally. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to survive in their environments. And so, and they are also connected to all that there is, and we are also connected to them, and we did not necessarily evolve from them. We evolved with them and continue to do so along with the universe as a whole. So that's sort of, the gist of this kinsmanship to God. I think this is this connection with the greater, the cosmological sort of whole. And I think recognizing that is a very enriching and really expanding of the spirit once that can be recognized. So, once that connection is recognized, then the discourse goes on to say, so what about hunger and pain and loss and the mean things people do to you and this type of thing? And Epictetus says, if you recognize this connection, this means you know who you are as a being, meaning you're connected to, you are the master of yourself, and you're connected to all there is, that there's really not any of these sort of life hardships that can come along that can, destroy you. Granted, if you don't have food, you will then cease to exist. But in the Stoic view, this sort of recognition of the transience of life and the sort of working through the fear of death is really a central sort of idea of Stoicism. And so if you have worked through this and you do not fear death, then it really is, these sorts of things have no power over you, because yes, you may die of hunger, but then you just do, because that's how you're going to end up dying. So it's not something to necessarily be frightened of, that sustenance comes to us, generally speaking, unless something other has happened, or in the case of power. People can do bad things to you and actually have you killed. And we discussed this also in a previous chapter. It was chapter 2 of book 1. So this has been done in a previous video. And the name of that chapter was How One May Be True to One's Character in Everything. And this sort of speaks to, staying true to your character no matter what's happening all around you. And that also pertains to sort of the next topic that's discussed in this particular discourse, and that is, what if a person just decides that they're going to commit suicide because it's just too much trouble to try to, they're just tired of trying to, get food and eat and live. And this was framed in this discourse sort of like as going to an afterlife. So why, if you believe that you're going to a better place after you die, why would you stick around here, and suffer? Why don't you just kill yourself and go to the better afterlife? And, this is sort of described in there. I with my secular worldview, I don't necessarily believe in that there will be another afterlife, but Epictetus goes on to say that everyone should stay their appointed time, meaning, life's short enough as it is, and that if you do not fear these things like hunger and loss and death, then there's no reason to want to leave early, because those things don't really have power over your character. They don't have power over you, your inner sort of tranquility that you've developed. So ultimately, the last, I think, point that Epictetus makes in this discourse is that, everyone's master of their own selves. And so, you really are the captain of your own ship, and only you, because it's only you that's steering your course, and only you can really know, only you can really guide your thoughts. No other person can actually make you miserable. Granted, they could withhold food from you. They could catch you up in a bad system. You could be wrongfully arrested and even put on the death row. And all of these things do not necessarily have to destroy your inner self. They are able to destroy your life, but they're not able to destroy your inner self. So I think that's the ultimate lesson from this chapter. So I think I'll stop with that. The next chapter will be chapter 10, and the name of that chapter is called "To Those Who Have Spent Their Energies on Advancement in Rome." So that sounds like that could be good, because that's sort of like going to be talking about ambition, I think. So stay tuned for that. And until then, I will see you soon. Bye.